I'm just getting this block ready to fit the cylinder head to. Thought I'd give you a few little pointers, a few things to look for. I cleaned it up using a soft block and some sandpaper and just went over it and then cleaned it thoroughly with brake cleaner. Things you've got to watch for when cleaning up. You can actually nip these together with a pair of pliers and take these dowels out. There's one here and there's one there. It's most important that you fit them back in because that retains the gasket, which is here, in place. Now, let me see, look, wait a minute. There, see? Now, pay attention because these gaskets can flip either way around. The holes for the gasket side are always here. See what I mean about putting it the other way around? It looks identical, but it's not right, you know. There's the hole, see? You can always tell because what will happen is, as soon as you start it up, you'll have no oil pressure because all the oil will start pouring out of here, because that's the oil passage. Which is here. See? And you've always got to pull this bloody wiring out of the way. I'm going to put a stick down there and pull that out when I put the head on, because you don't want to trap anything at this stage. I've cleaned it all out. What I'm going to do is give this a damn good oiling before I put it back together again, and then we can ready just to plonk the head back on. Now I'm going to try and do that today. It's 5 o'clock now, but if I can get the head down and get it ready to be torqued down, I'll do that first thing in the morning. So let's get some oil cans out and oil the tappets up really, really well. One interesting thing you can see, particularly for number 4 piston, there is the spray pattern of the injector. The injector hits the top of this pin here and sprays diesel all over the place, and that's its firing pattern because it's got 5 holes in the injector. That's a really good thing to see, that, if you're a sort of a, you know, Land Rover type person. Right, let's get on. Let's get it on. So the gasket's in place. It's located on the dowels. It's the right way, and there's the oil hole there. One thing I just forgot to notice and tell you, that I've already put the thermostat housing on the head prior to fitting, because these are on slots underneath it. This casting's on a slot, but it's so much easier to tighten up the bolts on that before you fit the head. I've also, whilst the thing's on, blown out all the holes for the bolts. Make sure there's no coolant or oil or dirt in there, so it's ready to fit. I've already oiled it up, so let's get the head on. This could be fun. Good job there, aluminium. Now, just have to sort of relocate it myself a little. What's that catching? Oh, it's catching on a stool at the back there. You just have to shimmy the head around till it's located on the dowels, like that. See? That is good. It is possible with these heads, if you're slightly off on the dowel, to push the dowel into the head. It's deep enough to go in, but that is nicely located. And you can probably see now that the bolts to get in for the front thermostat housing are nigh on impossible. So the next job is to oil the threads. So with our oil can, just a light bit of oil. On the threads. This will help alleviate friction. You don't have to be swimming. Well, you don't need to put sealer or Loctite or anything like that on them. Now, it's most important when you've got a Defender is to remember to put the air cleaner bracket on as well at the same time. And that's what we're going to do right now. Now, I did plan on getting some new rubbers for the air cleaner, but sadly they never turned up because I forgot to put them down. So we're going to put those on, and we'll have to struggle underneath to change them. No big deal, it's just a bit inconvenient, that's all. I have another order coming from the UK, but you know, with this virus thing, I don't know if I'm going to get it, because I've ordered for this exhaust gas recirculation. We're going to take this piece off and blank it off. It's no big deal. But I ordered a blanking kit, which wasn't expensive. It was only a few pounds. There's 18 bolts in these ends. And I tell you something, I'm pleased about doing this one, because even though it hasn't got a bull bar on it, it's still a good old stretch. There we go. That's all those taken care of. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull them down with my little impact. Like that, we'll just wind them down. They just have to be seated, they don't have to be tightly down. That one's not good. What's wrong with that? Is it a bad bolt? Might have been just catching on the edge of the gasket there. And of course, that's just snipped them down. It just saves winding them down by hand. The next thing we've got to do is to use a torque wrench and set an even torque on all of those bolts before we nip that head down properly. And I'm going to do that tomorrow, because it's getting a bit late now. I suppose I could put the exhaust manifold on. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll put the exhaust manifold on, because that won't affect the tightening down of the head. The manifold gasket is reinforced on one side, if you see what I mean. It's got some reinforcement for the exhaust. It's just a shame they didn't reinforce the intake, because that's the bit that blows out. Anyway, and it goes on that way on the head, not that way. And the reason is that this has got a little step on it. It's a little bit higher, so you'll be able to fit that on alright. So we just pull that back, put it the right way around, and then pull it back. There we go. That one like that. Then we can take our block of wood out somehow. There we go. Then we can lift that manifold on like that, and then we can just snip those bolts down. So I'm taking off the oil feed pipe for the turbo, I'll put the little banjo bolt in the top to stop dirt getting in that little thing there. There's the bolt, and if I'm going to need to go and get there. So I've got an extension. This is like I say, a 3/8 drive, thin wall socket, and you can see how snug it fits around there. Then we can go underneath here, feel the stud. And then tighten that on. There we go. That's that. And then tomorrow we shall talk all that lot up, so hopefully we'll get a nice early start and get something done on this job. Before I fasten the head down properly, I just thought I might as well take the time now to change these rubbers here, and I've got some really good used ones I'm going to put on, but I can't let it go. I can't let that go like that, because they are, when they're on the car, they're such a bugger to get to. I might as well do them now, so I'll do that and I'll come back. Just as a little tip, you probably already know this, but when it comes to replacing these rubbers here, you have to put them in to this bracket first and tighten them down before you put them into the main bracket. Alright? See, so wind those down, give them a nip up, and like I say, because it's got a welded captive nut in there, you see what I mean? So otherwise you can only do it that way around, and that's why it's easier to take the bracket off. But if you've got to replace them on the car, on the 300 TDI, it's not wise to take that bracket off, because you'll disturb the head a little bit. Can't win, can you? Daft idea, but there we go. So there we go, that's all back together again. Just a couple of little tips. Like I say, put the rubbers in the bracket first, not on that bracket, and I'll put some anti-seize on, because you know you're going to have to replace them again at some day. And even if you're doing a cylinder head, it might be a good idea, if these are looking suspect, to do them now, because they are an awful job to do, if you know. Now this is only on a Defender. Discos were different, and Range Rovers were different. What else can I tell you? Oh yeah, this one here, this bolt was missing that goes to the bracket. The bracket's there, but they've left the bolt off. So we're going to replace that, put this on, and then we should be getting ready to tighten down the head when I can get it spluttered out.